Keep your hands and head inside the vehicle at all times. Buckle your seatbelts, check your mirrors, sit on back and relax. It's lights out and away we go for the Tall and Short of It podcast. All right, here we go. Lights out and away we go for the 2022 Singapore Grand Prix. Welcome, everybody. This is another Tall and Short of It race companion. We've got the Red Bull out in front. We see Mercedes taking some contact there early.
Ooh.
Very squirrely here at the start. See a lot of spray coming, I imagine. Visibility is pretty limited there in the back. Quite an interesting start here, Aaron. Good to see you in the morning.
Good to see you too. It's a wet weather day here in Pennsylvania and there in Singapore, so a lot of excitement, I think, throughout this race. Slight delay, but I am looking forward to kind of seeing what happens. Max is going to have to make a charge from a tough starting position, so we'll have to kind of wait and see how that shakes out with the championship, of course.
Yeah, and it seems like it's going to be a tougher track to get some overtaking done on, so he may have a tough time of it. We have a car going off in the back right already. I believe it was a Williams possibly, but interestingly, we've got a bunch of different cars taking a bunch of different lines through all these turns, some of them going wide, some of them going tight in. So interesting that way where they're not necessarily like falling in line behind each other. They're taking different ways through these turns. There we go. We see Verstappen making an overpass.
Yeah, getting past, I think it was Ricardo there. So he dropped down a few spots right at the start, probably to kind of avoid contact, make sure he stayed clean, because he started up in P8. So definitely dropped a decent bit.
Well, and I imagine that's part of the Red Bull plan. I know they were talking earlier before the race about, just staying out of trouble on lap one, because it can get pretty hairy here at Singapore, and then, just on street tracks in general, very tight. But we've got Perez pretty far out ahead between Leclerc, Sainz, and then Hamilton. We see the McLaren of Lando Norris coming up in P5. But we're on now to lap 2. Everybody's safe and sound. Made it through lap 1.
Yeah, and Checo taking the lead and starting to build that gap is definitely big for early in this race. Sounds like there was maybe some contact with Magnussen, that his end plate is loose.
And did he just dive into the pits there? Is that what that was?
No, just a median on the roadway, like a little cement flat median.
Gotcha. That could very easily.
Oh, it looked like a pit lane. Yeah.
That's what's kind of crazy about these street tracks, honestly, is like the road markings have nothing to do with the race at all.
Oh yeah.
Just normal, whatever road circuit line or like road street. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, like in here, they're going across arrows facing the opposite direction and things like that.
Max actually had a wicked slow start.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Trouble actually, as opposed to strategic design.
Yeah, he hanging in there, but oh wow, that bumping in the back between Max, the two Haas's. There's another car back there. That was definitely a little sketchy there at the beginning.
Yeah, and it is just so tight here at the start. Obviously, there's a lot of good runoff area, where you see the painted blue, big Singapore Airlines logo. So yeah, it seems like the cars have enough room to kind of go, but you're off track very quickly.
Yeah,
you got to reset.
And Lewis getting bumped there as well at the start by Carlos Sainz. So a little bit of contact pushing him off.
Yeah, and that's just going to happen on these tight tracks at the start of the race.
It has to. Yeah, there's nothing to say about it. But Leclerc's really hanging on well to Checo at the front now. The two of them are just starting to peel away from everyone else. It looks like there's probably 2-second gap from Leclerc to Sainz there in third. But
Yeah, and that's gonna be a battle here throughout the day.
oh
I
wow, 4
imagine.
seconds. Yeah, that's a chunk.
Okay, I see you. Okay, yeah, that's gonna be. I'm curious if the Ferraris are going to be able to just close that gap up on pace, or if they're going to have to wait till first pit stops to get something done.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with those pit stops. Lewis just came on the radio saying that the the team should have listened to him about what tires to go on. That the intermediates have no grip, so he's not happy there. But
Well, I'm curious. Do you think he would have wanted to go on slicks in some way?
no. I think that he would want to have just gone full wets.
Really? It seems like
Yeah,
the track is like a bit too dry for that, actually.
yeah,
So
but
maybe it has more grip but no pace.
I think offline and in certain areas like that corner there, corner I think it's 8 is was really bad during qualifying in terms of like staying wet. So I think that there are portions of the circuit that are still so wet that, especially in like braking zones and turns, that there's a little bit of a wariness there on the
Sure.
conditions.
Yeah, and speaking of the wet conditions, we have a couple drivers on track that are touted for driving well in the wet. So I'm curious if there's going to be any moves that they'll be able to make. You know, like Lewis, Vettel, Fernando Alonso are well seasoned in driving in the wet. So we'll see if they maybe finish out of their place a little bit and are able to get a good drive going here in the wet. Looking at this replay of Magnussen, he like surfs the wall a little bit.
Yeah, and gets into contact. Man, he has had just bad luck with those front wing end plates all season. That's like the third or fourth race I feel like that he bumped. Oh, Albon sliding off as well.
Yeah, I think that was just the replay from
Yeah,
lap one.
but I didn't realize that had happened. Checo is just barely unable to keep Charles out of that DRS. Point nine. Oh, just got over a second, but that is
Most
going to be
likely not
tough.
on.
Well, yeah, I guess it. Yeah, that makes sense too with the wet. So
But if it continues to dry up, that gap is going to be more and more relevant as the race stewards look to turn on DRS as the race continues and a dry line starts to form and overall just the track starts to dry up, which we're only on lap 4, so I don't think we're going to see that for a while. But if they do turn DRS on here at some point in the race, the gap that Leclerc is holding to Perez should do pretty well for him.
yeah, definitely. He's put himself in a pretty good spot right now and is driving great out from out front. A couple of other just like odd notes, I guess. Russell didn't make it out of Q2 yesterday into Q3, and he's dropped all the way down to P17 right now. So I'm not sure what would have happened there with him at the beginning. I didn't see that, but definitely not the start that he would have wanted. And we have a couple of other people out of place, like you were saying. We've got Alonso, who recently has had a little bit of a struggle. I feel like he's always been around the points, but has being up in P6 is great for him. Lando in P5. And Pierre in the top 10 when the Alpha Tauri has not quite been a top 10 car for most of the season is definitely interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. But like we were saying, the wet races leave a lot in the air for people to take advantages. So we'll see what can come of that if he's able to improve on that position.
Yeah, it's definitely it's going to be a long race. I mean, lap 5 of 61, I think there's going to be lots to shake up. I wouldn't be shocked to see some safety cars out depending on how this track dries out and everything and how the tires hang on. But we're seeing Max work his way up a little bit. We're on board as he's chasing after Vettel, trying to work his way back up into his original starting spot at P8.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough drive for Max here, especially with the walls so close to you on either side. Getting most of those overtakes done may be pretty difficult, but he's gotten a couple done already. And, you know, obviously championship leader, championship winner from last year, we're not going to, you know, expect this guy to not get this stuff done. Just could be a tougher track for it. But a couple overtakes to go. He's got a long race ahead of him to find those opportunities.
Yeah, and the straight here, it looks like he might have an opportunity coming early, but he's still just stuck behind Seb for the meantime. But trying to find a way with the dry line that there is to make his way through.
Yeah, we may actually be at a track here. Just thinking about the Red Bull, where they're not in the most advantageous position in the sense that the straights that we do have here at the Marina Bay circuit are not terribly long. You're not getting that that really long time to open the legs up of the Red Bull, where
Yeah.
we've seen them just be so fast historically, like in the straight lines. So it may actually be pretty tough with these cars that have a little more downforce, a little quicker in the turns. With the circuit being that, you know, he may have a tough time.
Definitely, and seeing the cars sliding around, the back end snapping as they're coming out of these turns, it doesn't seem like it's drying out too quickly. So I think we'll have time to see some strategies change and all too. I'm interested to see when people start looking for those slicks and things like that, but I think it might be a little ways. Right now, it's just kind of everything staying pretty standard. Everyone's in their positions, not too much shifting around on the grid.
Yeah, and it seems like if everybody's on these intermediates with a bit of water still on the track, they're probably going to last a good bit. So we may not see pit stops for a long time, barring, you know, anything, you know, any into the walls or any mishaps happening to fix a part here and there. You know, it's going to be a bit till we see these pit stops. One of the other drivers I'm looking at for this race is Daniel Ricciardo. In the pre-race, was talking about how he was watching some of the footage from previous Singapores and found that he was actually pretty quick from the back, was able to make some overtakes done and be like pretty racy, I would say, here at this track. And it seems like combining that with the pace that he had on free practice 3 and then into qualifying, the car actually seemed to kind of come alive in the wet. So I think he's kind of drawing on the confidence from previous races. And I'm looking forward to Daniel Ricciardo maybe having a better race than he's used to here.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Well, he'll pick up a spot here because Magnussen is going to have to pit. He got the black and orange flags waved at him for the end plate that's broken. So Ricardo will slide up into 12th, and we could hopefully see a points finish. Zhou Guan Yu, stopped on track.
Yeah,
So,
and it looked like he pulled off in a like, you know, a pull off area, but they still got a yellow flag to raise. It looks like, yep, he's pulling the wheel. He is retiring from the race.
yeah. So,
that's unfortunate. I'm curious what happened. It doesn't look like the car's like damaged at all. It doesn't look like he crashed or anything. It may just be a technical issue.
yeah. So, I'm expecting a virtual safety car. That should be pretty easy to remove from the track.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a nice little off right there that they could either squeeze it into and then pull it off. Oh, okay. So he caught.
Oh, was
Oh,
that
and then just.
Latifi?
I bet it was. Yeah, and then he just pulled off.
Oh, that's brutal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he had nowhere to go. That's rough.
Okay. So it seems like then the AlphaTauri took some damage in contact with Latifi there.
Yeah, and so Latifi with the puncture, Magnussen coming in for his front wing change.
There we go. That looked a little, to be honest, I looked a little squirrely right there from the Haas pit stop. We had one gun up in the air, then another gun up
Um,
in the air, and another one.
yeah, it's always tough because with the front wing change, you can't lift the car with the front jack. So the two front tires have to you have to lift it from the side and get everything. Where the back wheels, you can get the back jack on it still. So, but it definitely throws off the kind of standard for the pit stop. But safety car coming out now to pick up the lead cars, and not too shocked right now. And Latifi coming out of the pits, or maybe coming into. I think he had a puncture, so.
So he's getting a new front wing here in the pits.
Yeah, new front wing, new set of tires, intermediates. It looks like.
Oh, now we got some waving, we got some confusion in the pits. Gotcha. They gotta retire. That's
Uh,
unfortunate. Safety cars out, pulling the lead cars from Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Norris are the top five, so they're going to get bunched up. And interestingly enough, Max Verstappen is past a little bit of a little bit of a get out of jail free card. He's going to get another opportunity to, you know, get up at these front runners. He still has a lot of cars in between them and the, front five, front four, whatever.
yeah.
But a safety bunching up the pack is always going to be beneficial for the one hunting.
Oh, absolutely, and it'll help give the opportunity, especially to get past Vettel, which I think has been the biggest holdup right now. He drives well in the wet and just hasn't made any mistakes that Max could capitalize on to move up, which is, I mean, pleasant to see. I love seeing Seb drive well, so. But this will give Max that chance as we, like you said, bunch everyone up. It'll take a little while to get everyone fully caught back up.
Sure. Here's my lap 9 prediction here for the safety car. So Kevin Magnussen had to come in because of contact um,
With Max at the beginning.
right, gets the flag, come in, fix the damage. So now he's on a fresh set of tires right with this when the safety car is coming up. So is there a sense in what? Oh, and also thinking of his Q3 performance yesterday, he had a lot of pace, was in the final qualifying session.
Mm.
What if Kevin Magnussen has an opportunity here to just start hammering in some laps before everybody gets these pits? And we may see Kevin Magnussen a little higher up the grid here, given a couple minutes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised having the fresh intermediate tires on there and everything. Should hopefully give him that opportunity. This is such a cool track with the giant Ferris wheel in the middle, and
Yeah, definitely a
this is
spectacle for the eyes.
yeah, night race. I can't imagine just driving over those bridges and seeing the track down below with just F1 cars zooming around as you're just driving to home from dinner or wherever they're going to coming from.
Yeah, and it's tough to tell, but some of those sectors, it seems like the cars are moving a little slower, as though they were, taking a gander out the windows to see what's going on. But yeah, it's kind of beautiful how it's lighting up pretty much everything around it. Obviously, we know, Singapore, home to the first night race back in 2008,
Yep.
and here we are again.
I think it's cool having that as a like occasional race timing and everything. But safety car is going to be ending here soon. I think we've fully gotten everyone bunched up now. Just with except I think Magnussen's the only person who's still kind of catching the back of the pack.
He's just building his pace to slingshot through.
Shake and bake, baby. Ricky Bobby.
There you go.
I mean, Haas is an American company, so that's...
Yeah, he's gonna throw his cowboy hat on and pedal to the metal, full send.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see. Checo has had some struggles with safety car restarts, so it'll be interesting to see how he does on this one. But he does have some bad experiences with that recently.
Yeah, almost as though he's not like ready for it or gets a little called out, but hopefully here being able to control the restart. Yeah, and it seems like he gets away well.
Yeah. So just trying to get that jump. Oh, and not even just bunching it up again, I think.
Oh, I understand. Gotcha.
Just
Yeah, I thought
working
I thought
heat
he
into the tires.
let it go, but I
Oh,
guess
I thought so too.
Gotta wait till you're around for the start finish line. I believe in this scenario is what it seems like.
Well, that's where he can like hold it up until.
So now it's green.
All right, so green safety car's in, and there he goes.
Try not to give that toe to Charles Leclerc there on the restart.
Yeah, and that top four really like got a big gap on Lando and the way back. So Max did not get the opportunity to get going, but he's still right on Seb's gearbox. Looks to be trying to go down the inside.
There we go. Now he gets you over
There we go. That switchback. That was a nice move.
I've heard them, and it may be a different move, but I've heard them refer to that as like the dummy move, where you like fake one way and then go back the other. Very similar to like a basketball. What are those called?
Like a crossover.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, and along with it, I've heard like the inside out, like he's going off the typical line to try and like take a different line out of the corner and hopefully be able to get better grip and everything out of that corner.
Gets another overtake done there on Gasly. And that move that you're talking about is, to me, like the Lewis Hamilton special, where you see the car ahead like take a tight line into the apex. Lewis goes way wide, and you're like, wait, what's happening? But the exit speed that he gets, like straightening up that quicker than opponent, it just gives you such a better run out of those corners. So yeah, the more we learn about racecraft, it's actually interesting. There's 50 ways to make an overtake.
Oh, absolutely, and the like finding the grip, especially in these conditions, to take an offline, I think makes it so much more interesting because you don't expect there to be that much ability to to go off the racing line, especially in some of those wet corners and all. But the track really is starting to look pretty good in a lot of areas. There's definitely still some water, but I think it's a little ways until we get to slicks. But I wouldn't be surprised if the first pit stops we see people go for a set of mediums or something like that they could potentially take to the end of the race.
Okay, so you think we're gonna see pits at like lap like 28 to 35 or so?
I wouldn't be surprised. Like the only way I think we get something sooner is, of course, if the track just starts to dry up really, really quickly, or if there's another safety car. I wouldn't be shocked to see people kind of diving in and trying to get some sort of change, whether it's new intermediates or onto slicks.
Mm-hmm. Most of the track it seems like is pretty dry here. There's some sectors in the corners that seem like they have a little bit of water on them yet, but no puddles. I think most of the concern would be on any of the any of the track borders and painted sectors that are you know throw you off.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because like you definitely I don't think fully see a dry line yet, and I'm sure that they feel it, but it's from the overview shots you can't really see it super well, so that makes me think that everything is still just in general decently soggy. Um, but we're seeing Alonso get a little bit out of shape as he's being chased by Max now in P7. Leclerc putting in a fastest lap to keep that gap to Perez right about 1 second.
Yeah, and I guess that's a good point. If the track was drying up as much as it kind of looks like to us, you would likely see a dive into the pits to get like a new set of tires, but the intermediates seem to still be working, and it's not even like anybody even is thinking about it. No radio messages about tire condition or anything. So yeah, I think your hunch may be right here, Aaron, that they're going to be running for a little while.
I definitely expect so, and Max is really trying to find his way around Fernando there. He is right on him.
About
Um,
a half-second gap here going into turn 10.
yeah, just didn't quite have the space that he was hoping to get by.
Now, is your stream a little laggy? It seems like the internet coming from Singapore is a little slow. It's pretty far away.
Mine's it's doing decently. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad.
Gotcha. It feels like I'm watching this as a slideshow, just stills.
Oh wow, gotcha. Yeah, no, mine's doing okay right now. I think I'm just like a couple seconds behind you, or maybe a second or so.
Okay.
But
So what do you think about this bridge section here? I find this fascinating. So a part of the track, you're actually going over that, and it like winds down and around in a way that then you drive under the
through
same
like
track
a
you drove over. It's
yeah.
very like Hot Wheels esque in my opinion. Where you have all the plastic tracks going
Oh
over
yeah.
under each.
No, I think it's really cool. There are not too many tracks that have that kind of built in. And that is similar to like what it reminds me of. So I think it is a pretty cool aspect of the circuit and a unique section of it.
Yeah,
Um,
to be sure. And I think that is ultimately um, mostly my position when talking about like keeping tracks and track features and things like that is they're often they often have these unique features that make me not want to quickly dispose of them because you think of this or another track or whatever and you're like, yeah, but it has this like key element that no other track does, and it's just interesting thinking about the tracks on the calendar and what makes them unique, and I love this aspect of Singapore.
Definitely. I think that that's one of those things that it gives good cause to continue going to tracks, whether it's on a rotation and every other year or anything like that. I think that would be a great opportunity for a lot of these circuits, be able to have time to resurface tracks and things like that. And still be in that rotation if they are not a circuit that's going to be like a every year kind of.
Right, like a mainstay or an evergreen track.
Yeah, because this is the first time in Singapore since 19, I think.
I believe so, yeah. Or maybe they were here in 2020.
I don't know if they were with COVID,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
but yeah, Checo getting a teeny bit more of a gap on Leclerc now, and Sainz is just a little ways back. Max still just kind of stuck, can't get his way through past Alonso.
And I'm curious if at a certain point they tell him to like stop driving a progressive system and just waiting for the next opportunity, be it a safety car or you know the pit lanes opening. Because at a certain point, if you're battling really hard, you're gonna cut down on the tire life that you have available to you.
Yeah, and I don't know how well or how much the intermediate tires are affected by that as the slicks would be.
Oh,
I think just because the temperatures don't get as high on the intermediates and they're mostly like getting grip by shedding water with the grooves and everything, that it allows a bit more for like preservation of the tires.
yeah,
But
no, that's a really good point.
it's still like, I mean, driving in the dirty air, even though it's easier this year, is still like harder on the car than having a little gap in between.
Yeah. Which that may be a good point to stick on to is the fact that it it may have been easy to overlook the coming changes and saying yeah, but how much is it really going to increase raceability, or is it going to reduce drag that much behind the lead car? And interestingly enough, I think we've seen over the course of the season that the changes have helped incredibly. I think
Oh yeah.
the races have been just more competitive all throughout the grid, as opposed to just certain cars being able to take moments away from other vehicles, where for the most part they were just following meters behind. But there is something about these regulations that are allowing for the close following of the car behind that is creating some very exciting races.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, DRS makes overtaking too easy now," and that's like your people's argument. But the fact that people can stay so close and like we were saying with the racecraft, find different lines, find ways to make moves and all. I think it is so exciting and adds a lot to it as opposed to just people being stuck a second and a half having one shot to get past someone. It that doesn't give the opportunity for excitement as much. And Lando's team on the radio with him saying that they're looking to make the intermediates last a while. So I'm not sure if that's to slicks or just to kind of wait and see and give the opportunity for conditions to change.
Yeah, and any of those options seems like it could be the leading reason. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit until we see these cars dive into the pits and start to change their strategy, and we may see, that's when we're really going to see the grid shake up here. We had similar positions here throughout most of the race. The upper bracket staying pretty similar. Max moving up through the midfield, and then so far we just have Nick Latifi and Guan Yu Zhou out due to contact. But yeah, lap 17, we are trucking on.
Yeah, and we have both the AlphaTauris in the points as well. So Gasly in P8, Sonoda in P10. Um, Lando talking about, I think they're just communicating conditions and maybe talking about slicks and seeing if that I love that Lando is like looking intently for that opportunity to maybe be the first person onto slicks and everything, to be able to give himself a huge outlap and maybe take advantage of the conditions to move up a couple of spots. So I think that's exciting to see. And Max, they said now 19 seconds off the lead with Alonso just like holding him up.
And yeah, if that's the best that he's able to get done here for a while, I'm sure I'm sure his lead in the championship won't be hurting too much.
No, definitely not. But it's still it'll be interesting to see how the points shake out. I don't know based on current positions what that would mean for next race, if that means that he would easily have the opportunity to clinch it, or how that would work. But especially this weekend, after pretty rough qualifying performance, more from the team, it sounded like Max was very unhappy, left without a debrief yesterday after they told him to abort his second to last lap and then told him he had to pit on his last qualifying lap, that he would have most likely taken pole position because they were running out of fuel and needed a fuel sample for the FIA. So to avoid a back of the grid penalty from not having enough fuel for the test, he ends up in that P8 starting position, very out of place for just a uncharacteristic mistake from the Red Bull garage.
Yeah, quite uncharacteristic. I'm curious now, was Max running more laps than average? Was he doing more like cool down laps or something?
No, I think they fueled him for a number, like for 5 laps, and they had him abort the one lap because of a yellow flag, I think in sector 2 and 3. And so then they sent him, and then mid lap realized that they didn't have enough fuel. Max on the radio talking to the pit wall saying it's still too wet, so not looking at making any jump to the slicks yet from that end.
And the radio message for Science was that we're not far from slick, so not there yet, but all the teams are starting to be quite privy to changeable conditions and looking at a new set of tires here in the next couple laps, probably maybe 3 to 5 laps, depending on position where you're at.
Yeah, and it's definitely, you can see with the times getting faster significantly that it is getting to that point almost. Sergio dropping about a second and a half from where we were at a few laps ago. Ferrari squeegeeing their pit box so that everything is ready to go once that time comes.
Sure. I mean, God forbid, you slide into the pit stop and take out your front jack guy. That wouldn't be good.
Oh, definitely. Definitely would not be good. We've seen it a few times in the past, but no one wants to get knocked over, whether it's like we talked about on the pod with Felipe Massa and the fuel hose taking out a pit crew member, or Lance Stroll going a little too far and bowling over one of his front jack guy.
So yeah, it can happen. Like that's a very real possibility. Man, I'm just thinking of that clip of the guy getting bonked with the gas hose. Man, that's so funny.
Yeah, like glad that that everyone was okay, but definitely a funny like holy cow. And the fact that
Yeah,
they've built in those like redundancies, like a fuel hose that breaks off at a certain point to stop fuel from getting all over and things like that. Like you wondered, and I'm sure we could look it up, but did that happen before? When did that happen? Did someone pull a fuel hose off and it not have a cutoff first, or did they think of it ahead of time?
hard to say. Hard to say, but hopefully they thought of it ahead of time.
Yeah,
But
because
no worries on refueling anymore.
yeah, definitely a different different era of F1. So Max dropped back to about 1 second behind Alonso. Um, but Perez is really building that gap now out front. 2.3 seconds ahead of Leclerc. Sainz 10 seconds back from Perez. So a big gap there between the two Ferraris even building. So Sainz just not having the grip as maybe as much as Perez or Leclerc, but Leclerc is just quickly starting to drop back.
Yeah, and how frustrating for him, honestly, starting on pole, getting just overtaken right at the start by Perez. This is going to be likely another scenario of you know, missed opportunity, not capitalizing on the advantages that they had. I don't necessarily know like clean side, dirty side here. I don't know if
Mm.
like Perez just had like clean side advantage or whatever. But yeah, Leclerc getting jumped on the start. I cannot imagine he's too pleased about that.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating to feel like oh, there's another pole this time with Max so far back. It's rainy. Like all I have to do is get a good start, and I can like go and kind of run in that clean air out front, and then Perez really getting just a better start and getting the jump on him to kind of immediately take that out. Checo putting in another fastest lap right now, um, and it looks like the Mercedes pit wall bringing the medium tires down. We'll see who those are. Who those are for.
And it looks like Russell being in the back may have the most to gain from it. So it may be George Russell that they're pitting. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton still like he's second behind Carlos Sainz, and Ferrari hasn't moved yet. Um, I hesitate to guess that it's Hamilton, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I really can't tell what they're what they're doing. Just moving tires around. Maybe they're saying on the broadcast maybe to throw people off the scent. Um, kind of baiting the other teams a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. See if you can make them, you know, make a call a little early, perhaps. Just detail. Has your sound cut out from the broadcast?
So it's gotten like robotic-y at some points, but it comes in and out.
Okay, it's totally not hearing it on my end. We've got a yellow flag in
Oh,
sector
and Max
two.
just
Looks like Sonoda is dropping back.
Verstappen got past Alonso, so
Looks like Alon.
Alonso stopped. Oh, oof.
Interesting. Now I'm curious if that's just
Engine.
car issues. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, I didn't see any contact.
No, he just came on the radio briefly, just said engine, engine, and they said okay. And so,
Oh, damn, that sucks. All right, so it's double safety car now. We have Alonso out of the race, who, by the way, was racing incredibly well up in P6, just hammering these laps in.
yeah.
sweet to see World Championship winner Fernando Alonso out of the race here.
Yeah, unfortunate. His 350th Grand Prix. Um, Definitely not how he would have wanted, but we've got a virtual safety car out, so all the drivers will have to keep their delta. We might get some pits. Yeah, his engine just gave out on him on the straight.
Rough. Now it is a hot circuit. I wonder if maybe temperatures have to be to blame if something got overcooked. But maybe we'll get details at a later date onto some other things happening on the track. We're getting a replay from Yuki Tsunoda. Kind of gets out of sorts on one of the turn. Has to slow way down, let a couple cars pass by him.
Ooh. And struggling. So gets past twice there. So by Stroll and Ricardo, Stroll, it looks like, almost took him out. But George coming into pit, and let's see what they put on. They got slicks. They got mediums.
Sure. 22 laps in, we haven't seen any precipitation coming down. 3.1 second pit stop for the Mercedes. Doesn't even come close to the Red Bulls.
Ooh, this is going to be interesting. I'm very intrigued to see. I mean, he's at the back of the grid, P17. Let's see if he can get these tires up to temperature under the virtual safety car with the water. Ooh, drifting.
Yeah. Huge slide.
Ooh, man. I'm like, this is what I want just to be on screen. I just want to see how these go.
I mean, it looks like they're going pretty well.
Max being informed by the pit wall that George went onto the mediums, and Max goes, "That is very brave right now."
Yeah, he's still drifting a little bit.
Yeah, because with the Delta, you're not going to be able to get those tires up to temperature. That's going to be tough. If you have an actual safety car, then you can like weave and go forward, brake. He is, yeah, going to be focused. Whew. Singapore drift.
Yeah, there you go. Is there anything... Does anything look cooler than a car drifting? I don't think so.
It's pretty cool. I love the way it looks. But green flag, track clear, back to racing, and Lewis right on Carlos Sainz. And so Max now 28 seconds back off the lead, about 3 seconds off of Lando Norris there. So
lot to do, and depending on what the early lap data is showing from George's stint with the intermediates is gonna, I think, decide a lot of the next coming seconds, next coming minutes here.
yeah, and Max getting a fastest sector 1 now that he's got some open space. I want the George Russell cam. Give me all the George Russell sliding on the track content. I need to see how those tires are doing, because that's what everyone's going to be basing their pit stops on. Or potentially waiting to see if there is another safety car or something else to get a free pit stop. But I think with Russell being the only one to pit there, we're most likely looking at pretty standard pit stops now.
When you say standard, what do you mean?
No free stops, just trying to figure out the undercut, overcut, things like that, when to go onto the slicks and all, as opposed to waiting for a free safety car or something to pit under.
Every time I hear sirens, I'm compelled to make Cody Ko's mixtape joke. It's so bad, but obviously just stuck in my head.
Oh, I love that joke.
But yeah, back to the race. We hear Russell on the radio. It said, "Is it spitting?" Curious if his decision to go on to the intermediates was maybe a little too early. Could be a little bit of paranoia from the drifting driver there. Russell asking if if it was raining again, but it looks like just some spray off the back of the cars ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm glad that we haven't had more rain, and so hopefully we can continue to just have this dry out and get some good pit stops and some interesting racing on the slick tires. Fernando sitting there watching on the side, so sad.
I respect him just going trackside to watch the race, watch his teammate. I have to say though, honestly, I am just a sack of bones. I would need a hot shower. Give me a towel. I want to be bone dry coming back out to watch my man. Like it looked like he was still soaked. I'd be shivering. I'd be out there catching pneumonia.
Yeah, I don't think it's their suits and all are pretty watertight and everything. So I would imagine it's mostly his head that is like wet or sweaty. But either way, not not the most comfortable way to be watching the race now.
But I think that just speaks to the like focus level of these guys, where it's just like, all right, he is still clearly very focused on the race, and I think that just speaks to the pedigree of driver that he is. But back to drivers that are still in the race, still competing on track. We've got Verstappen about a second behind Lando Norris. Just seems like the next little challenge that's coming up for him. We actually see him get out of sorts. He's pushing pretty hard to get behind Norris.
Yeah, and it's gained half a second on Lando on the last lap, so pretty big gain there, making his way 27 seconds back from Checo. But
by the way, has just been running a phenomenal race. We haven't seen him on the cam. Charles Leclerc, the number behind him is staying rather consistent. So honestly, Sergio Perez having a pretty good day, getting that quick overtake done at the beginning of the race. And he's just pushing that lead 25 laps in, almost at 50% distance. Checo's having a heater.
oh yeah, a great race, like great qualifying. He's looking phenomenal. I think the other fight that I'm keeping an eye on the timing is Hamilton, just over a second behind Carlos Sainz, hunting for that podium position, which is definitely within reach there. But and then George Russell just did a personal best middle sector, so he is. I think what they were saying on the broadcast is that Alex Albon into the wall.
Gets it in reverse, though. Gets it off, and he gets it going again. So he may be able to just get in the pits. It looks like his whole front wing broke off, so somebody's going to have to grab that. But if Albon's able to get back to the pits, he's going to be back in this race.
Whew. That is going to be tough.
Cool. Well, remember the last time we saw that was Sergio Perez putting it into the little safety barriers, and the front wing got stuck, couldn't reverse it out. And that's the difference right there, man. If you can get your car going, get back in this race, baby.
Oh, absolutely. But without that front wing for some of that downforce and all, it's going to be tough to get around. And yeah, just the yellow flag in Sector 2, so coming around and
it's just a slow bop, dude. That's so funny. Yeah, it just doesn't turn in.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Not much that you can do. Yep. Such a light bump, too. Just but Okay, so another virtual safety car. I don't know if anyone does want to switch yet. I still think it's a little too wet.
Yeah, I don't think the personal best is going to be enough for these teams to jump because I think your initial prediction is correct. They're likely just going to want to just one stop, make one change, and go on to the right set of tires just one time instead of this like rainy day swapping.
Yeah, I just think that's the easiest way to do it at this point with it staying wet for as long as it has. But here comes Albon into the pits. They're out for him.
Get that broken wing off and get him back on track.
Definitely not the best race for Alex coming back, but after, like we talked about on the pod, his appendicitis, being in the ICU after some complications and all, we knew it would be tough for him to come back. Are they retiring the car?
Yeah, they got blowers out. Oh wow, this is actually stuck. Wait, they're saying the track is clear and there's a steward literally on the road?
Oh, that is not.
Oh,
This is not
man.
good. Unless hopefully that's a replay of some sort, maybe.
That seemed live to me.
Yeah, I don't know. That
Okay.
no, I mean seems okay now, but that was a little sketchy.
Dude, me and you are like the safety marshals. We get so concerned. We're like, that's not safe.
Oh,
Don't do that.
I think we've just seen some bad incidents and all, and have like know about the dangers. I think I think that just like we enjoy watching this. We don't want to see anything bad happen to any of these guys. We like them. So
Well, it's just a funny like counterpoint to the like. Well, I watch races because I'm hoping there's going to be a crash, and we see like one steward with a broom on track, and we're like, "What's going on? This is
get out of there!
yeah."
They're coming! Get out of there! Oh, Max right on Lando now. Second behind him.
It's Hamilton saying, "I'm just losing so much time behind this guy. He's really slow." That's funny.
That is hilarious.
I have to say, I kind of love how these drivers like dehumanize each other, like on track during the race. They like, I'm sure they have the data to know like, okay, this is Carlos Sainz, like ahead of me. Like they clearly know who it is. But
Typically, yeah.
that does not even compute. It doesn't even matter. Now we have uh,
Ocon into
the wall. That's a shame. But yeah, it doesn't even register for these guys. It's this guy. He's so slow. What's this guy doing? They just forget that the other car is a person and are just like, oh, he's just a problem for me. And that is hilarious in my opinion.
Oh no, it's
Alpine.
just the intent focus on like what you're doing, that part of your brain's just like not even connecting. It's like doesn't matter who the guy is, whoever it is, it's just the car brand name. It's the Alpine in front of me, the the Aston Martin. Ocon, yeah, is gonna have to be removed, smoking from the back of the car. I would hop out, but just slowly moving backwards in neutral.
Well, and it looks like there's some kind of liquid leaking out from the bottom. You see that black little trail that he's got there.
Yeah. But both Williams, both Alpines, and one Alfa Romeo out. So that is actually huge for McLaren in their battle with Alpine right now in the constructors. So looking at the constructors standings right now, Alpine is up 18 points on McLaren for fourth position. So with both of the McLarens in the points, that could cut into that gap by probably about 11 points of that, I think, based on current positions. 9, maybe. Let's see. Checo not pitting.
Well, and especially if Ricardo gets like 1 or 2 overtakes done, I know the 2 Aston Martins get pretty wide in these scenarios. But if he's able to get a couple more points, yeah, like you were saying, they're going to close it down a little bit more. Aaron, I'm going to have you walk them through the virtual safety car here. I'm going to use the restroom.
Cool. Sounds good. So yeah, Aston Martin in the points with both cars as well, which is big. They are only 8 points back from AlphaTauri. But as we're working our way through this safety car, we've got virtual safety car. So everyone does have to just stay between the delta. It does not bunch up the pack at all. Max under a second behind Lando. We've got Hamilton half a second behind Sainz. Ocon hopping out, leaving the track, and they are wheeling his car off. So definitely an unfortunate incident. Oh, and wow, that replay, his engine just explodes coming out of that corner. Just a huge puff of smoke out of the back of it. Unfortunate. Like, we wanted to see some craziness, some excitement. All these retirements, especially for mechanical issues, is not ideal. So they should hopefully have that car wheeled off in the next minute or so. So maybe 1 to 2 more laps under the virtual safety car. But really no one diving into the pits yet. Everyone has stayed out. Just trying to wait till the track dries up, and it just, no one feels it's there yet. So we had Sainz's pit crew out in the pit lane. They didn't end up having him come in.
And that's so tough with the little bit of moisture that's on the track, and then it being nighttime, so it's not just like, getting blasted by the sun to dry off easily. So if temperature's not changing very much, we may just have this much moisture on the track here for a little while, because it would only be the heat of the tires and the cars drying.
Yeah, as opposed to so definitely a little different from a typical rainy race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where usually you still you have the just drying elements of the atmosphere clearing up the track as well. But here at night, we don't have that luxury. And I know even at the time of the grid walk with Will Buxton, it was still pretty hot, as he mentioned.
Yeah, and Lewis really trying to kind of get Sainz out of sorts on this virtual safety car, keeping to his delta, but in between pushing him and hanging on his tail. Hamilton said he brake tested him, so.
A brake test? Yeah, like, what would be the point of Lewis, like, getting off to the side of Carlos like that?
Well, I think he's just like, oh, green flag. Oh. Oh, Max. He was trying to read the green and went a smidge early, had to back off immediately.
Gotcha. Okay, I see that. The gap.
Oh, and now he just, Lando got very fortunate. Max really was going for that perfect restart off the virtual safety car and just didn't.
Brutal, I see that.
So.
Oh, and he even locked up that front left, too.
Yeah, that's weird, though.
Why is that weird?
Well, they said on the broadcast that there was green flags out, and then Max came around that corner, and you see the like light flashing still for, I guess, for the virtual safety car, and so I guess either the broadcast is like slightly off, or maybe a light was off, but either way, Max just trying to get a jump and then losing out a little bit, but he's closed that gap up very quickly on Lando again.
Yeah, attempting what track was that at? Was that last time out at Monza where he just got the restart perfect and
I
was
think
just
so.
right there on him?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, close that gap back up, and we're seeing him just a little bit behind Lando Norris again. Still on that climb from the out of position grid start.
Yeah, and Sainz has pulled out a gap a little over 1 second between him and Hamilton, so he didn't get that opportunity to get by on the restart for Lewis. So we'll see the Ferrari, it looks like, just has a little extra pace there. But yeah, with a pit stop, I'm thinking at this point we might get some pit stops in the next like 3 or 4 laps. I think we're right there where we will have to start seeing that soon. Those intermediate tires are not going to be doing quite as much as they had been as they've worn down and all.
Yeah, and at this point in the race, you don't want to go to another set of intermediates. You wanna go get your compound change done as well as getting on to a faster tire, hopefully.
Well, the thing is, like, with you don't have to do a pit stop on a wet day. If you start on intermediates or wets, you're not obligated to do any pit stops at all. So, like, if they wanted,
Really?
they could stay out on the intermediate the entire race and just, like, run it to the end. So,
And that only factors in if the race was started on inters or wets.
yeah, because then, I mean, like, they're not going to force anyone to pit to switch tire compounds if it's, like, a safety concern and everything. So, technically, you could. I think in previous years, to some points, we've seen people wear down the intermediates basically until they were slicks practically by just the wear on the tires. But
And just running the tread off.
yeah. And so Russell still struggling with the tires and everything, so people are looking at that and I think waiting to see when his lap times catch up to kind of the front runners in terms of tire wear and everything. That might be like when he's putting in laps the same times as the top like 5 or so on the mediums while they're on the intermediates. That's probably when we'll see some pit stops, changes, and everything.
Right.
So he's still the guy, the seeing eye dog for all the other teams right now.
The canary in the coal mine, as it were.
And Max locking up again with those tires. He is trying to get past Lando because that is really kind of the race at this point, is Max being able to just climb his way as far up, and with the big 14-second gap up to Lewis, that's going to be a stretch to be making up that much time if he can get past Lando.
Right. Yeah, and depending, there may be talks of the overcut. Wait, overcut is pit before?
No, it's the undercut.
Undercut is pit before opponent.
Yeah, so with the expectation of having a fast out lap that you can... Oh, Lewis into the wall.
He's able to get it back in reverse. Looks like we're going to get him back on track. There we go. And he's going to make a beeline for the pit stops. Oh,
Oof.
whoa. Kind of dangerous coming back on track there.
Yeah. Oh, that was a really dangerous rejoin.
Just gets nestled right in between Verstappen and Norris. Questionable right there from Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, he just wanted to get back in the race, but that was
Yeah.
tough navigating.
Yeah, and he'll need to change that front wing. The left side is really dipping down, so it's going to be tough. Max might have an opportunity to get past him.
Oh, yeah, that looks like big damage on the wing. We see the Ferrari pit crew out and holding tires.
So, yeah, they're saying opposite Red Bull for Leclerc, but
Interesting. Tires back into the garage. Ooh, Hamilton, a little drifty.
yeah, he's just
This race is heating up.
losing some aero with that, but man, that's Lewis. The car looks intact. Yeah, it does to you, but that same thing was a black and orange flag for Kevin Magnussen with the end plate dipping like that. So he's going to be forced to pit there. George, half a second slower than Checo on those mediums.
And the Verstappen radio coming in, obviously talking about the rejoin.
Well, he's saying the end plate. He's like, that's about to fall off. This is dangerous, mate. Like, I think Alpha Tauri, Gasly in the pit, going on to slicks.
There we go. So it seems like whatever track condition they were looking for is.
Oh, and just tons of sparks from Lewis there.
Yeah, and now it's dragging.
Yeah.
Looked to be hanging. Now it's dragging.
Yeah, just so many sparks.
Well, and especially on those like really left front loaded turns.
Oh, absolutely. But the straights too. It's just like sparks like crazy.
Oh man, oiled straight in.
Oh.
That is, you have to say, an uncharacteristic mistake from Lewis Hamilton. Even like where he's not getting the, results that we're used to. It wasn't due to mistakes by any stretch of the imagination usually. So I would say a big mistake there for Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, absolutely. And so we've got a George Russell fastest middle sector and now fastest lap. So we're seeing Leclerc come in going on to mediums. This is exactly what they were looking for. Russell takes the fastest lap and an immediate pit stop from the Ferrari team. That is a good strategy call. I think that they are making the right decision there.
Yeah, 100% agree. Especially from a team that has historically maybe not gotten the best tire strategy. It's good to see them making the first move in a position of like, what would you say, like authority in the race, in the sense that they're driving 2-3.
Yeah.
Did my man have to put a foot onto that thing?
Oh yeah.
Shake it off, dude. That's hilarious.
They were not having an easy time. Lewis is gonna not be thrilled, but
damn, drops all the way back. P8 currently. Vettel's in the pits. Mick Schumacher's in the pits as well, so doesn't lose out too much.
Yeah, and probably seeing Max go for a couple of laps as fast as he can, maybe just one here, while the medium tires are getting keyed up for Leclerc, and then diving into the pits. I would imagine the next 2 laps. I think what will happen is Perez will probably go right now, and then Max on the following lap.
Yeah. Replay there from Charles Leclerc's pit stop. It seems like he overslid his pit box a little bit. I'm curious if there'll be any like weird ramifications for that. We see Perez go into the pits now as well. One thing I did want to call out in that whole little shuffle there, Valtteri Bottas swaps to the soft tires as opposed to the mediums that a bunch of the runners are now on. So it looks like the Alfa Romeo's taking a little bit of a different strategy, and maybe, yeah, maybe it'll be the dark horse. Sorry.
And Checo with a good stop in the pits. Um, but yeah, I think it's interesting because with the soft tires, like maybe with the cooler track temperatures, they can go to the end potentially. But I don't know if it's going to make the difference that they need. But hey, if you can warm up the tires faster and get them clicking pretty well, then that's huge. And a yellow flag sector 2, what? Yuki
Unsure.
Sonoda into the wall now.
Yeah,
Oh man.
that's pretty brutal. So now we're looking at
Immediately after Max pits. And they're turning off the car, so he is out. He's not going to be able to reverse out of that.
right.
Oh,
We're gonna see another virtual safety car, I imagine. I
yeah.
don't know where this is actually. It may not be that easy for them to get out. Yeah. Oh, they call full safety car out.
Yeah, full safety car. And so this is going to be good for anyone, I think, who has already. So I think Norris and Ricardo, who have moved up to third and fifth, actually they'll get some really good good position off pit stops. This is going to
Yeah.
work really well for them.
Yeah, and then give them that boon that we were talking about earlier in the whoa. And did you see him like accelerate into the whoa? Looks like he caught some water there. Like he was actually slowing down pretty well, and then he got a little burst of speed as he went into the wall. That's pretty unfortunate there for Yuki. But yeah, like you were
Yeah.
saying about the McLarens getting a little bit of points breathing room from the two Alpines that are now out of the race.
Yeah, catching up in that standings. This is a huge opportunity for them, so they have to take this opportunity. And I think Lando will lose out to Sainz here, and Ricardo to Verstappen. But I think that is, I mean, still great positions to be 5, 6 in this race. That would be huge. And
Yeah, and for all these vehicles to get pit stops under safety cars, they're not losing out as much as they would be. So yeah, just kind of coming out on top for these drivers that are able to keep it on the dry.
oh, Lando might not even lose out to. Oh, he'll barely lose out to Signs as Signs goes by right there.
Right.
But I will be back in a moment. I'm going to get some water while we're under safety car.
Yeah, no worries. I will entertain the folks here. So what are we seeing after all these safety car shenanigans? I'm just gonna do some housekeeping here. So we see Checo Perez at 1, uh, P2 Charles, P3 Carlos Sainz, P4 Lando Norris, Verstappen 5, Ricardo 6, Stroll and Vettel 7 and 8 respectively. Lewis Hamilton all the way back to 9 after sliding into the wall there, unfortunately. And then last in the points there is Pierre Gasly, who is maybe going to be the only points earner here for the Alpha Tauris. And Yuki was actually having a pretty good race up until got all out of sorts. But to be fair, wet track, 90-degree turns, walls on both sides. These are pretty tight sectors. We have Lewis Hamilton coming over the radio about 37 laps in saying, "I'm so sorry. I fucked that up big time," he said. And yeah, it has hurt his race significantly. But, I think if anybody's going to be able to make up something like that, it's going to be Lewis. But could, at this point, just be kind of nail in the coffin here. Maybe has solidified his result. Obviously, he was able to get off the wall and back onto the track, but damage definitely done. So that's kind of unfortunate for Mercedes, Mercedes team, especially in the case of George Russell being in the back from having a rough Saturday. So they weren't able to get a good starting position from George Russell either. So it's going to be a very points light day for the Mercedes drivers here. We see Yuki Tsunoda's car being carted away. We see some scuttling stewards, which is always a treat. These guys out there doing the Lord's work here, keeping everybody safe and organized. But yeah, we got a couple drivers here on the softs still under safety car. Just talking about some of the tire changes has gone way later than I would have guessed. I kept talking about it, thinking it was always just right around the corner. But Aaron, definitely more privy than I am, knew that the safety car wasn't going to be coming around for a while, and we're damn near, or not the safety car, the pit stops. They started around like lap 35, 36 or so. We're on lap 38 out of 61 now. So yeah, decent bit to go, but pit stops came decent bit into the race, which isn't that common unless, well, I guess last year it was pretty common in 2021, bunch of one-stop races. But I think with the tire changes going into this year, that's been a bit different. There aren't as many one-stops as I remember from last year, but this is going to be one of them here, it seems like, which isn't bad at all. We're getting a replay here now of Lando Norris going into, not sure what turn that is, gets a little out of sorts, is able to readjust here. And these may be turns even under safety car. Checo Perez telling safety car to go faster, but that is not the point of a safety car there, Checo. Yeah, looks like he wanted to race Burt Mylander, the Mercedes AMG safety car driver. Shout out to that guy, always here on track with us. But yeah, just talking about the tires once more. We see Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren going on to the soft tires as well. Like I was saying, Valtteri Bottas on the soft tires. So it looks like the McLarens picking up that strategy here from the Alfa Romeos going on through the softs. I'm curious what they see in that. Maybe they are expecting just to one stop in that scenario, get a bunch of end of the race pace where maybe they believe the mediums could fall off a little bit. Now we are at time for the race here. So we have 37 minutes of running left where they don't believe that the race distance would have finished, possibly.
Yeah, I think it should, but I think we're getting to a point with all the slowdowns and everything that it could potentially not.
But they're still keeping track of the lap count, though, correct?
Oh, yeah, they are.
Right, okay. Because I was going to say, just now making it just like a 37-minute endurance race is kind of odd, because we're not that far away from the end. We've only got like 20 laps to go or whatever.
Yeah, I think it would be if there's just a number more pit stops, or not pit stops, safety cars or anything. But at this point, we're already the least number of finishers that we would have in a race this season, down to 14 with six drivers out.
Yeah, a couple of them into the wall, a couple of them, mechanical failures. So very interesting Singapore Grand Prix we have going here so far, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting, just not what we've seen. And yeah, those medium tires for Yuki just not turning in as we see that replay again. He just boiled it right into that corner.
And that's such a shame too, especially that's got to be weighing on his brain. He just got the contract extension, has been being praised for maturing as a driver and really getting some good results. So yeah, this one not coming at a great time.
No, but even in this circumstance, I mean, we've even seen Lewis Hamilton have a incident as well. So I think conditions are definitely rough out there. But safety car is ending this lap, so they'll be in this lap. Perez again getting to bunch up the field and look to get a good start for himself.
Yeah, very much like Max Verstappen on one of his winning days. Perez hasn't really been on camera that much, other than these couple of restarts that he's had here. So hopefully he'll get away well once more from the two Ferraris that have been chasing him down the whole race. Which, to be fair, they have kept it pretty solid compared to some of their recent results here. So good to see the Ferraris here at 2-3 not making any big mistakes, getting the tire strategy right, looking at George Russell to be the example. And, they're going to get a lot of points here if this stands.
Yeah, absolutely. This would be huge for the McLarens, huge for the Aston Martins for the points. And Lewis dropping down to P9, that is definitely rough in that constructors fight for third.
Yeah, when you got up, he was on the radio saying, I'm so sorry. That was I fucked up big time. That was a big mistake. So he's definitely down on himself right now, but he'll bounce back.
Yeah. So safety cars in. We've got Green and Checo just goes right away.
Gets a little bit of heat in the tires coming down the main pit straight. But yeah, he is away well. Max now in a very different position than he was previously in the race, getting pretty close to Lando Norris. Hopefully for him, he'll be able to make this not last that long and just get right by him and start hunting down those Ferraris. Give his teammate Sergio Perez some backup there.
Yeah, and this was huge for Max. The opportunity. Wow. Oh, that lockup. Oh, man.
So much rubber just off the tires. That's it for him, man. Holy hell.
Man, rough move. I think the tires were just not warm enough. I think he just went for a big move and it did not pay off, but Max and Lewis now man. So tough restart for Max there. Drops down out. Norris, Ricciardo, 4th, 5th. This is a great day for McLaren. Now Max has set himself up. So I guess at this point, maybe we are under the time that they would need to complete all the laps. So it is just timed lap.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it switch back.
Yeah,
that was a really aggressive move from Max, trying to
got the slipstream and it just couldn't. Yeah.
That oncoming camera angle is like insane. Actually, there's so much smoke coming off those tires.
It's
you mentioned a good day here for McLaren. The Aston Martin's now 6 and 7 behind the two McLarens. That's honestly probably the best result for that squad this year.
Yeah, Checo noted for a safety car infringement, so interesting. So Max coming in, putting on the soft tires to hopefully get that heat in and try and climb his way back up. So now back in last position right now.
That's so brutal. Yeah.
Oh, and George.
What about George? Oh, just moving slow on track.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Okay, here we go. Is he moving slow? I can't tell.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, puncture back right.
That sucks.
Trying to get to the end.
Here's Max hunting him down on that limp back right tire.
Yeah.
This is going to be insanely hard for Max to catch back up here now, just in the sense that pretty much everybody's pit stops are done. Although 30 minutes, I don't know, man. It's gonna be pretty tough here to recoup that mistake.
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, so George trying to pass goes into the side of the Haas, and back right immediately punctured.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's gotta
George.
be so hard to drive.
Oh, yeah. But George goes, what happened there? And it's like, bro, you like turned it and you hit another car. Like, what do you mean? He was straight. He was going straight, and he was ahead of you. You were gaining and bumped him. Oh man.
Hmm.
As it stands, Max will not be champion this race with his 0 point current gain. Shocker.
Still like 100 points almost in the lead ahead of Leclerc there.
Mm.
Dude, Sergio and Leclerc so close.
As it stands right now, 2 point gap. All that would take is Checo getting the fastest lap here, and that would be a tied. But Leclerc is gaining, putting in fastest laps, getting after him. Max up to P12, so getting past Mick Schumacher as well. Just working his way up. Oh, and Mick also going slow, so maybe a puncture for him as well.
Or maybe he caught some kind of damage in the contact with George Russell.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine.
But it doesn't seem like, talking about some of the other runners, it
Ooh.
doesn't seem like off for Valtteri's doing that hot here.
Yeah, a little snap from Leclerc's car there, and we're gonna get to see the Mexican Ministry of Defense right now. We're gonna get to see Perez just doing what he is so good at and defending from the front of the grid. He has had quite a snap from Perez there too.
Yeah, the track must be slicker than it looks on cam. Like,
Oh, it has to be.
yeah, it just looks way more dry than that. But yeah, still getting some snaps of oversteer. So.
Yeah, but you're definitely seeing a dry line there now around the circuit. So there's a distinct dry line. And Mick Schumacher coming out of the pits there.
Now he's onto the soft tires. George Russell's onto the soft tires. Just going to be running best they can here for the end of the race.
Yeah.
And
Check.
then that Sergio talk about drivability of the engine.
Yeah, so probably shifting and things like that. Interesting.
Yeah, so a lot to play for actually here in the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, and Max is cutting into Magnussen's time, getting closer and closer, but it's still a big gap to Magnussen of 16 seconds. Just to get into the points, he's about 20 seconds out of that right now. So tough weekend for Max. Some just unfortunate luck and everything, but Checo saying underbraking and traction are both difficult. So that's, yeah, just seeing them wobble coming out of every turn is, I could so easily see any of these guys do what we've seen from a number of cars today and just end up in a corner.
Yeah, lot of snaps here coming, and we also see the DRS being enabled as well.
Wow, I think that's not the. I don't know if we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and especially there's 3 DRS zones around this circuit, I believe. So yeah, we may see some significant position changes here yet.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with the DRS enabled how that works out. Yeah, I just see them sliding, and I don't understand how they think DRS is like okay right now. I think it's still too slippery.
Yeah, especially because you have to go offline to get the overtakes done, and we're seeing, compared to the dry line, there is still moisture on track, so it does seem maybe a little bit questionable.
Yeah, it's not a big dry line either. It's like it's still pretty thin around a lot of the track.
But I mean, hey, trust these guys more than my eyes here. Half a
Yeah.
world away. So.
Well, and so from what I mentioned with Max a few seconds ago, or a few minutes ago now, he has now cut 6 whole seconds out of Magnussen in the past maybe 2-3 laps. So put in the fastest lap, he is flying after those back points positions right now, trying to get there. Ricardo and Norris still holding that 4th, 5th, and Norris now right on Sainz. So we've got 2 exciting battles right at the front.
Yeah, and it looks like Norris is inside of DRS as well. So if he can keep it together around these laps, he'll have a couple of opportunities each go around to get closer and then look for an overtake here.
Yeah, and Lando has been a pretty overall good wet weather driver. So that is something that I have in the back of my mind. Sergio putting in the fastest lap, and Leclerc still right there with him. But this is an exciting race. It's an interesting one. A lot of kind of chaos going on from qualifying all the way up through now.
Yeah, a whole bunch of drivers have been in and out of the wall. A couple of different safety cars. Very different tire strategies than we're used to. And an exciting street circuit race to be sure. Max just sets the fastest lap now. Obviously, he's out of the points, so it's not going to count.
Yeah, and so 4 more seconds out of Magnussen there in the past 2 laps. Or maybe 1.
Well, and then he'll quickly start getting into like these DRS moments where he's able to take large chunks of time.
Oh yeah.
He's still far away from these cars, but
I'm thinking 2 laps and he'll be on Magnussen, I'm thinking.
Okay. All right. And still with 23 minutes to go. What are the lap times?
Minute 50 right now. So that's probably about 12 laps. 12 laps to go.
Okay. All right.
Somewhere in there.
But yeah, just lots of exciting stuff going on. Hamilton chasing down Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin, just behind his teammate Lance Stroll. Which, honestly, this may be one of Stroll's best performances this year.
Yeah, and I think that's something I was actually talking with Colleen before the race when there was a shot of Lawrence Stroll and Christian Horner talking, and so I was telling her who Lawrence was and explained that I was a big Stroll hater a couple of years ago. I've come around. I think he's a pretty decent driver. It's a high floor, low ceiling kind of guy. Like, he does pretty well consistently with, as long as the car is good enough to do well. He kind of drives, he gets like an average amount out of the car, and he's just not ever quite that, I'm gonna just go and have these standout performances and everything. He just doesn't quite have that, but solid driver. Overall in F1.
Yeah, I think it's tough to continue to criticize a guy that literally just every weekend shows up like P8 just consistently.
You can't really hate on that. Like, it's as I've learned more about the sport and the importance of car and driver and everything, I feel like I've given a lot more respect to some of these drivers that I didn't necessarily when I was a newbie. So Max now 1.4 seconds behind Magnussen, fastest lap, so he is going to be right on him, but Leclerc is running Perez down right now. This is going to be a tough end of the race. We saw Checo lock up there a few moments ago, so a lot of pressure coming from the Ferrari.
Yeah, and this is Leclerc's opportunity to take back what was taken from him so long ago, it feels like at this point with
Yeah.
so much on in this race. But yeah, he is chomping at the bit, only 4 tenths behind Sergio right now. And with a gap like that, 20 minutes is a long time to defend.
Oh
We
yeah.
may see Leclerc get by here yet, or this is going to be a defense of a lifetime from Sergio Perez.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy end to the race. We see in this picture-in-picture, Max is right on the Haas of Kevin Magnussen now. I think in one of the next braking zone or DRS zones, he might be able to look to make a move. We're getting close here. So
Yeah, getting real close. Kind of curious about Carlos Sainz's pace. With Leclerc being so
and
far
there
ahead,
Max goes.
gets by the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, and now he's just 2 seconds back there from Valtteri in the Alpine.
Yeah, and then could quickly be up there with Hamilton, Gasly, and Bottas if he can keep pumping in these good lap times. So we've had what is it? They're talking about safety cars, virtual safety cars. I think it's been what 2 and 2, 2 virtual, 2 full.
Believe so, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and really slows down the action of the race. But as we get here into the closing sectors, which I mean, even 19 minutes still feels like a long time away, especially considering how much pressure Checo Perez is under right now from the Ferrari of Leclerc.
Yeah, just the DRS lap after lap, and the Red Bull having that straight line speed has just been able to hold him off, but it's that, yeah, 6/10 of a second or so that keeps moving and expanding and contracting a little bit at a time. Um, Max is really cruising up though, only 7 seconds back now, but it's like he's taking a tenth out every time they update the timings from behind Bottas, who's also on the soft tires.
Sure. Yeah, he is for sure hunting him down. I would imagine he is not pleased after that mistake going after Lando Norris would be the difference of what is that, 8 positions, 7 positions.
Yeah,
At such a pivotal point in the race. Really unfortunate for him, but yeah, the race at the top of the table is quite exciting, and then the McLarens, Ricardo gaining 11 positions on the day. I mean, this is
huge.
exactly what I was talking about, man. He really found his advantages here in the race, and I don't know. I don't know what the bod review did for him, man, but he's really lighting up the scoreboard here.
Yeah, I think just I want him to have some really solid performances like this at the end of the season and all, like not knowing what is going to happen in terms of his future in F1 and everything. I want him to at least have a nice finish to this season and all, and put in some good races there for Danny. I would love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, either A, to remember him well by, or B, you're, only as good as your last result. And if he's still in a position to hopefully fill a seat somewhere, a out of character P5 finish for the McLarens may be just the thing that gets him a look at, rather than if he just dwindled away into P14.
Yeah, and really hasn't had any like slip ups this race. We haven't seen him much, but we haven't seen him make any errors. No replays of him going wide or having issues. No going into the wall. Like we've seen from, I mean, so many Lewis, Max running into the runoff area and everything as well. Just a good clean race from Danny, and that has, in a crazy day like today, put him in an awesome position.
Yeah, for sure. Unlike some of these drivers that just did not go well for him. But taking advantage of those missteps gets him and his team in a really good position. And now I'm curious. I don't know what the live points would be, but with results like this, they may catapult themselves ahead of the Alpines. Correct? That's who they were battling with.
Yeah, so fourth and fifth, it would be 25, 18, 15, 10, 8. So 18 points, I think. And that would put them tied with the Alpine team. So that if I did my math right with points amounts, which I think it's 10 and 8 for fourth and fifth, that really could be huge.
Yeah, seriously. So even on a day where if you're a Red Bull fan, you're not happy for Max. If you're a McLaren fan or an Aston Martin fan, this has been the race for you.
Oh, absolutely. You haven't seen your drivers much, unfortunately, though.
I haven't seen them much other than climbing
Oh, absolutely.
on the left side, which is just as neat.
Definitely. And Max is cruised up to the back of Valtteri Bottas. He's just outside of a second, as Bottas is half a second behind Gasly. So might unfortunately cause a little bit of a DRS train if Max can't quickly get by, but it'll be a fight for that last point. Valtteri is not going to give that up too easily there. Checo putting in a good fastest sector right there.
Seems to maybe get his legs under him a little bit, but yeah, especially for Valtteri, I would not easily give up that position. Started P15, is now currently P10 or 11th now.
Yep.
Max just got by him. But yeah, overall, Valtteri's had a great drive so far. Yeah, making up 5 positions.
Yeah, nice drive, and all it would take is something else happening, and he could easily see himself getting a point again, which would be, I think, his first point in a few races. I think it was a lot of his points early in the season, and not so many as of late. But now Max chasing after Gasly. If Max gets past Pierre pretty quickly, everyone's going to say that Pierre just moved out of the way for him.
Yes, about that. Gasly just moved to the side like they're Red Bull sister team, dude.
Just so that he could chase after Lewis Hamilton. Just to oh, that is really cool. The graphic. So I just noticed when they're showing the arrows between the cars, if the person is in, like, I think what would be imagined to be the slipstream, like right behind them, it like turns green as they're getting closer and stays gray if they're like off to the side, like not gaining on the person. That's a cool graphic. They've done some nice stuff this season, I feel like, with the different graphics that they've had for a number of races and the production improvements that they're trying to make. It doesn't always work perfectly, but some of them like that is like your brain recognizes what it's telling you without even noticing it. Like, it's so like discreet, but like a nice addition, I would say, to that broadcast, seeing how the car is gaining or falling.
Yeah, it's definitely an intuitive little graphic there. And you're right, I do enjoy them, especially when it can be maybe kind of tough to understand what you're looking at. Like, is that guy going faster? Because, to be fair, the cameras that they use to shoot this, they're so good that it actually, like, camouflages speed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's interesting that a broadcast about race cars has to, like, put graphics to, like, oh, look how fast he's actually going.
Yeah, and like when they show the dashboard and you get the little like image on the inside of the halo with like all the little stats of like how fast they're going at that like second, it's so cool.
Well, to be fair, the little throttle thing that they have there, where it shows like their braking pressure in specific turns, and it shows, the throttle going all the way up. There's
Yeah.
actually a couple of those onboards where, if you pay attention to how a driver is getting on the throttle in any specific turn, there's actually been a couple moments where I'm like, oh, that's not a braking zone. He just lips.
Yeah.
So in my very amateur life, when I then go to do that, it's like, oh, okay, so I can actually drive the track better because of the information that they're putting up on this.
Oh yeah, you can like realize how it actually is like kind of supposed to work, and like if you were driving out in real life, like how that would feel, and like what you would aim for the best like entries, exits into turns, things like that. Checo has put a big gap in now, 3 seconds to Leclerc. Max is not too far behind Lewis, about 2.5 seconds, I think, from that fight for P8. But yeah, Leclerc really starting to struggle on the medium tires. I think he pushed pretty hard for a while, and maybe just his tires are not going to quite get him where he would hope.
Yeah, getting a little out of sorts on some of these turns here as well. So the gap has definitely extended to Sergio, giving him a little bit more room. Where previously, Sergio was locking up and he was having difficulties, obviously being put under a lot of pressure from Leclerc. Is that George Russell into the pits here? Seems like it. That's an interesting stop for him, to be honest.
Interesting. Maybe they're just waiting to see. Maybe there's I don't know.
That's a weird stop.
Well, could be to steal a point from to take the fastest lap away. I think maybe since he was not in the points anyway.
Right. So if he can get it, at least these other guys can't get it. So he doesn't get a point because he's outside.
Right, but yeah, but he would take it away from Red Bull or Ferrari potentially to help Mercedes and not losing additional points.
Right. Who Sergio Perez currently has the fastest lap there up in P1, currently 3 seconds ahead of Charles.
Yeah, Max half a second off of Lewis's tail now. The soft tires have really come alive. There's probably about 4 or 5 laps to go, and Max is just looking for the next straight to just get past Lewis here.
Getting real close. Obviously, these guys do not have a great history going wheel to wheel. Sometimes gets pretty dangerous. So let's just hope that Max can make a clean pass here, especially when not a whole lot's at stake here. And just looking at how he tried to get by Lando. Could just.
So 12 and 10. I was wrong about the points. I had 5th and 6th, not 4th and 5th. So they would be up 4 points on Alpine if positions stay. Such a huge swing.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to use that to argue. I know we were talking on the pod this past week, episode 102. Check it out on Spotify. We were talking about some of the storylines and such, where maybe the Max Verstappen line isn't that whatever, but here we are in a position where 2 Alpines are out of a Grand Prix, and now all of a sudden we've got another team coming ahead of them. That's pretty fascinating, depending on what part of the grid you're looking at.
Yeah, it's especially as we're coming to a close, like we said, there's a lot of just positives that you get out of just even one higher constructors place finish. So those battles do mean a lot in terms of the teams and their ability to produce a better car for the following season, financially, time-wise, and everything. So I think that is definitely something that is important to kind of follow the other areas of the grid. With Stroll and Vettel in 6th, 7th, that might propel them past the AlphaTauri as well, up into 8th position. So there's definitely some big things to keep an eye on.
Right. So even if, you imagine the top of the table to be kind of locked in, there's still some really exciting stuff to play for here. It seems like broadcast is pretty smitten with the Max Lewis hunt down here, and especially it seems like Hamilton's pretty close behind Vettel as well. So maybe a little bit of a DRS train going in the final 5 minutes. Looks like it's going to be tough to make any kind of overpass there, but we'll see what gets done.
Yeah, and seeing Hamilton kind of try and battle with Vettel there, that may open the door for Max as well a little bit if things get a little squirrely between the two in front.
Maybe a double overtake, just like the mythical double rainbow.
Or like Lewis's double overtake. I think Esteban Ocon had one earlier this season as well. You see both cars gaining so quickly. Like, these gaps are so small. Yeah. I was just thinking that too. 12 world championships in that little lineup. 1 for Max, 7 for Lewis, and 4 for Vettel.
That's yeah. Well, more Lewis and Seb.
Yeah.
Max is the little rookie there in that little line. But yeah, I would say a lot of experience right there at this little juncture of the grid.
Yeah, and they are just so tight there. Russell putting in a fastest sector 1, going for maybe that fastest lap here to try and steal that point. Man.
Yeah, this is just like really tight. It's hard to feel like you could say anything that would properly describe this, but here are 3 cars just in the thick of it right now. Hamilton doing his best to just stay away from Max, use the slipstream that he's got behind Seb. Max is just chomping at Lewis's gearbox, trying to get past him, obviously, in these closing minutes here. We got 0.5 of a second here that Verstappen's behind, just following as close as he can.
George Russell taking that fastest lap. But yeah, this is got me on the edge of my seat, waiting to see, are there going to be any overtakes? Is this going to be how it'll go? Finishing up 7, 8, 9. Very out of sorts race. I feel like there's going to be a lot to look at and talk about from quali all the way through the end here. But I am just, the anticipation of any overtake here in this little group is got me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, quite exciting, I have to say. And you look up the timing table. It looks like a bunch of the other drivers are out of contention for any overtakes here in the final minutes, other than this little DRS train that we have going here for 7, 8, and 9, with Max just doing his damnedest to make up what he lost earlier in the race.
Yeah, he is really trying to get it, but the soft tires just do not make quite enough of a difference. While the Mercedes has that slipstream and DRS as well, right behind Seb in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, any kind of compound advantage that he would have is nullified by the slipstream that he's got ahead. Lewis goes for a move, can't find it, looking on the outside.
It would really take kind of a mistake from someone, but like that, Lewis.
That looked intentional, I have to say.
I think he was, but then he went wider. I think he was trying to go to the outside and get a good exit and just went too far. So Max started 8th and now back up in 8th and right on Seb's gearbox as well now.
that's an interesting little bit of geometry right there.
Yeah.
They dropped right out of the school line. He's like, no, I'll go back. I'll go to the back.
Slight lockup, I think, that I think he thought he was going to go into the back of Seb because of a slight lockup. So now Max coming around. So we're going to see if Perez, well, I guess next time Perez comes around, that will be the last lap, most likely. So Max probably has about 2 laps here to try and get by.
Oh, because they passed the start-finish line.
So it's the whatever lap is started once the clock hits 0, I think.
Okay.
Or I believe, like...
So yeah, Max has to get it done here if he wants it, but it looks like
Or...
pretty much their position is decided.
Yeah. I think it's 2 hours plus... Yeah, so...
Oh, are you talking about how soccer works?
No, well, now, so it's like... They're like, talking about, will they bring the checkered flag out because it's hit 0, or is there one more lap? I think there's one more lap.
Oh, okay. Even if Sergio hasn't passed the start-finish line?
Yeah, I think so, because... Like, if he was just, like, a second away from the finish line and it hit 0 and, like, he just blows through it, like, that's just the end of the race. I feel like one more lap is needed, unlike in quali where it's like you have to make it to the line with time up on the clock still.
Okay, that's what was in my head. Okay, thank you.
So,
Yep, final lap.
okay, yeah, so that's kind of where I find, so... Yeah, Max will have the end of this lap and then one full lap to try and make a move, but I don't know if he'll find that necessary. So, Checo.
Wait, is that Sergio that we're looking at?
Yeah, so Sergio lapping George.
Okay, gotcha. Man, it's always so weird when they do that. Like, they were just showing...
Max and Lewis not long ago, and yeah.
Just confusing. Max, in the picture-in-picture, getting really close to Vettel.
Oh, man, he's right there. Just can't quite make the move.
Great.
This is a phenomenal drive from Checo, though. Like, he dealt with everything that was thrown at him. Virtual safety cars, restarts. And Max gets it done.
Nice. I see that.
So, but Checo, phenomenal drive. So clean. Only one lockup that I recall when he was getting put under heavy pressure. Big win. First win since Monaco, I believe, for Checo. Just beautiful, beautiful drive. Awesome drive from him. Good from Leclerc to come home in second. Try and take as many points as he could, but now 1 point gap between Checo and Leclerc, if I did my math right, after this race.
Damn. So what used to be the conversation of Charles and Max, now it's about the hunt down of Sergio Perez into that top spot for second. Obviously, pretty far away here to take the Drivers' Championship. But yeah, great finish for Sergio, and just, I mean, this guy, he got his first win last year at Mexico, or not in Mexico.
But yes, last year, I forget which track it was at. I think it was at Baku. Because Max had the blowout of the tire on the straight, and Checo took home that victory. He swooped in. So I believe it was Baku. But beautiful drive from Checo. Really...
Dude, like, he pretty much stole that from Leclerc.
Just
right
from the beginning, just like kind of took it and controlled the race from start to finish. You love to see it. And Max here on the replay with the overtake to take P7 from Seb. So snatching it and taking those few extra points, that's big. I mean, maximizing or minimizing the loss as much as possible with the errors between qualifying. I think there's a lot for Red Bull to discuss this week about what happened and kind of look at situations. But really a very interesting, exciting race. We end on a timed finish, which I don't think you and I have ever seen, at least not for a race companion, for sure. So.
Yeah, definitely not for a race companion. But that was a very exciting race. I have to say, I was kind of worried about the wet weather. I thought we were going to see, rain delays and, just all sorts of just not that interesting stuff. But it turned out to be quite an exciting race. We have Sergio Perez at the top step of the podium, Charles Leclerc P2, Carlos Sainz P3. Great finish for Ferrari, who has had their share of struggles here during the course of the year. So a very solid P2, P3 on a day when they get the strategy right. That's got to feel good for Ferrari. It's got to feel good for Sergio here today, obviously. Big win here.
Yeah. So congrats to the top three, like you said, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz. Very exciting race. Another win for Checo under his belt, so that is awesome. But that does bring us to the end of the race. So we do appreciate, of course, everyone checking this out on YouTube. We put these out occasionally, so keep an eye out on the Twitter as we announce these bonus race companions that we'll put out there here and there. But Justin, you want to take us out of here?
Just want to say thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. New episodes of the pod every Thursday. Tall and short of it. Follow us on Twitter at tall and short of 1. Other than that, it's been super fun. Everyone, thank you so much for listening, and peace out, everyone.
We'll catch you later.